All right, guys, welcome in, welcome in. We're going to get right into this. I got to tell you, Letitia James being indicted, it has got to be one of the best stories within the last couple of weeks. I mean, if you've ever had somebody in your life who you just wanted, just something to happen to, that is literally Letitia James. She is the exact reason of why the definition of karma is here. She is the reason, the person who went after Donald Trump for years, who tried to ruin his existence, went after him, went after his kids, went after his businesses, went after everything Donald Trump stood for, everything Donald Trump loved. She went after. She made it her life's mission these last 7 years to go after Donald Trump, personally attack him. She literally campaigned on going after Donald Trump before she even got the job of becoming the New York Attorney General. Before she even got the job, her campaign promise was, I am going after Donald Trump because he is a illegitimate president. She went after him for no reason, just because the Democrats hated him. Okay, so I just want you to understand. I just want you to understand what I'm about to play right now. Here is Letitia James, before she even became the New York Attorney General, what she was promising the state of New York.
We are angrier and more deeply divided than we've ever been at any point in our history since the Civil War. And at the eye of the storm is Donald Trump, ripping families apart, threatening women's most basic rights. I'm running for Attorney General because I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake. From the Muslim ban to efforts to deport immigrants, to denying transgender students the ability to choose whatever bathroom they want.
Yeah, how dare he? How dare he think it's wrong for a man who wants to dress up as a woman to go into a woman's bathroom? How dare Donald Trump stand up for Americans? How dare Donald Trump deport illegal immigrants? How dare he do that?
Rolling back regulations to protect our planet, colluding with foreign powers, putting profits over people, and dividing us in ways we haven't seen in generations. Corruption in Albany, environmental hazards from Buffalo, and a criminal justice system, unfortunately, which has criminalized too many black and brown people. We can do better.
Here we go with the race thing again. Letitia James, this is something that the Black Democrats have to stop doing. They have to stop making excuses for things that are happening in minority communities. Yes, violence is at an uprising level, skyrocketing level in black and brown communities, especially black communities. It's not the white man's fault. So this is something that they have to stop doing. They have to take ownership of this and stop trying to blame, Republicans or conservatives for black crime. It is a big problem. That's why Donald Trump has a National Guard in Chicago right now.
Than this, we need to reform a criminal justice system. We need to end cash bail. We need more alternatives to incarceration. We don't need trial by ambush, which means we have to reform our discovery laws in the state of New York. We should not criminalize mental illness or poverty. And we also need to reform a grand jury system which is cloaked in secrecy. It's important that we all understand. At one point in the history of this country, they went after several immigrant groups. And now they're going after Muslims. And they're going after other individuals. And now we're all in the same boat together. And that's why we've got to stand up. We've got to stand tall. We've got to stand for our freedom and our Constitution and our democracy. And at a time when Congress, particularly Republicans, do not have a backbone, it's important that Democrats put some steel in their backbone and fight back. I believe that this president is incompetent. I believe that this president is ill-equipped to serve in the highest.
I just want you to understand something real quick. America is so free. Look at all the stuff that she's saying. Incompetent, illegitimate president, all this stuff. Could you go to any country, Russia, North Korea, all these other countries, and talk about how bad Donald Trump is, going after him criminally, saying all these terrible things about Donald Trump, and that she has the nerve to say that Donald Trump is a dictator, that he's a communist, he's all this other stuff? That makes no sense. Do you know that in a communist nation, you can't talk bad about Vladimir Putin? You can't talk bad about Kim Jong-un in North Korea? Are you kidding me? So all these little baseless claims that she talks about is literally defeating her argument right now.
This office of this land. And I believe that he is an embarrassment to all that we stand for. He should be charged with obstructing justice. I believe that the president of these United States can be indicted for criminal offenses. And we would join with law enforcement.
Now, mind you, this is before she even got the job. So she campaigned on locking Donald Trump up. She campaigned on taking money from him. This was her campaign promise to the state of New York. I'm going to go after him. Elect me, and I will make this my sole mission. Okay? So it is so funny now. All of a sudden, she gets indicted. She gets indicted for mortgage fraud. I got to tell you, it is karma. Karma.
A federal grand jury in Virginia has indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James on criminal charges after an investigation by the Department of Justice.
Chanley Painter has the details. Good morning, Chanley.
Hey, good morning. So New York Attorney General Letitia James facing federal mortgage fraud charges after prosecutors say she falsely claimed a home in Virginia as her second residence while using it as a rental property. A federal grand jury finding that she was then able to obtain more optimal loan terms. Well, James now faces a 2-count indictment, including 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count of making false statements to a financial institution. Each count carries a potential sentence of up to 30 years in prison and
So she had a secondary residence, lied about, that's going to be her secondary residence. She's going to live there and all this other stuff. Where she started renting it out for profit, got favorable mortgage deals, bank loans, lied to banks. And now all of a sudden she's going to be indicted and faces 30 years, faces up to a fine of $1 million. Now, here's what Letitia has to say. No type of remorse, no type of, hey, I made a mistake. Nothing like that. Actually, she's saying the charges against her are frivolous. Doesn't make any sense. You're only going after her because Trump is weaponizing the DOJ, which is kind of funny because Joe Biden did the exact same thing to Donald Trump.
More than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties. His decision to fire a United States attorney who refused to bring charges against me and replace them with someone who is blindly loyal not to the law, but to the president is antithetical to the bedrock principles of our country. This is the time for leaders on both sides of the aisle to speak out against this blatant perversion of our system of justice.
Isn't that weird how Democrats always sit there and say hey, you know what, Republicans, you're using the DOJ against me. How dare you come after me for all these crimes that I'm committing? But when Democrats are in power and they do the same thing to Republicans, they do the same thing to conservatives, they do the same thing to Donald Trump and come after his family, call him all types of tyrants and Nazis and all this other stuff, which is the reason why we have so many violent attacks from the left, which is the reason why Charlie Kirk is no longer here, which is the reason Donald Trump was shot and had multiple attempts on his life, because rhetoric like her, who literally called Donald Trump a racist, a dictator, a communist, and all these lunatics out there on the left who are mentally ill, want them gone. It is their violent rhetoric. And how dare she now say, hey, look, how dare you do what we did to you? You can't weaponize the DOJ, which, by the way, Donald Trump is not doing that whatsoever. You sat there and lied to banks. You sat there and said that your secondary residence was your secondary residence, not to sell it out and rent it to make some money and then get favorable loans from mortgage companies. That's something that you did. That's not Donald Trump's fault. But now that he's coming after you, or now the DOJ is coming after you for the stuff that you did, you don't like that. And now you're going to sit there and say he's weaponizing the DOJ, of course.
I stand strongly behind my office's litigation against the Trump Organization. We conducted a 2-year investigation based on the facts and evidence, not politics. Judges have upheld the trial court's finding that Donald Trump, his company, and his 2 sons are liable for fraud. I'm a proud woman of faith, and I know that faith and fear cannot share the same space. And so today I'm not fearful. I'm fearless.
Now, here's my question. Is she actually, going to go to prison for this? I don't know. Should she? 100%. But it's funny how she just came out, and I don't know if you guys saw this Zohran Mamdani rally that he just had. She's all happy and smiling and saying, Zohran Mamdani, we're going to do this together, and he's got my back. And it's kind of funny that no way is she worried at all. Wouldn't you think, as somebody that is getting accused of bank fraud, lying to banks, and could face up to 30 years in prison, wouldn't you think that there's some little nervous and anxious? Not her. This is kind of a little worrisome, because what kind of corruption is New York going through right now, where she feels so bold to go to a political rally and chant, I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not scared of Donald Trump. I'm not scared of the federal government. I'm not scared of anything. So here's what Eric Trump, if anybody doesn't have any insight of what Eric Trump and Donald Jr. and Donald Trump went through these last few years, I just want you to get a little insight of what Eric Trump and his family had to go through.
Well, Carl, you've been a friend of mine for a long time. You saw the hell that I went through. They did everything they could to destroy our family. I mean, you saw me every single day in those courtrooms. They impeached my father. They went after him, mercilessly. I got 112 subpoenas, the most in the history of this country. They deplatformed us. They debanked us. They leaked our tax returns. They made up the Russia hoax. They made up the dirty dossiers. They took us off the ballot of Maine. They took us off the ballot in Colorado. They did everything they could to destroy our family, and that woman right there was at the front of it. I mean, she literally sued us over the fact that we had never missed a mortgage payment. We had paid back banks and made banks hundreds of millions of dollars. Deutsche Bank was on the stand testifying that we were one of the greatest real estate companies in the world, had made them a lot of money. They considered us platinum borrowers. They considered us the big whale, never had a default, never missed a payment, was never in any kind of breach. And she went after us to try and throw us out of New York. She wanted to take our buildings, and she lost. She got a rigged decision, and I just overturned it at the appellate court, 5-0, including the presiding judge of New York State. And so, today's, a great irony that the very same people that tried to throw us out of a state, that tried to bankrupt our family, that tried to destroy a company, falls to the very same thing that she did. It's projection. It's like the number one.
That's exactly right. It's literally projection. And I am very curious to see what's going to happen here, because Letitia James is a criminal. She went after Donald Trump 100% because she didn't think Donald Trump was ever going to be president. That's why she went so hard at him. Because why would a Democratic Congress, go after a president who could possibly become the next president? They thought that if I'm going to get these guys to have all these felonies, if I'm going to lock this guy up, if I'm going to take his money, I'm going to take his buildings, I'm going to go after him, his family, everything that he loves, he's never going to be president, because I'm going to make sure that he has all these felony counts against him. And guess what? He has all these felony counts against him, and the American people still saw the Democratic president ruining everything. Open borders. The American people right now, they care about the economy. They don't want to see all these illegal immigrants flood the country. That's why one of the main reasons why Donald Trump became president again. So I have all these frivolous accusations against Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels and all this other stuff that the American people don't care about. What matters most to the American people is their dollar, their groceries, high cost of gas, inflation, how far my dollar is going to go, illegal immigrants that are riding on taxpayer dollars. This is what Americans care about. And that is the reason why Donald Trump became the president. No matter what you can say about him, if he's making fun of, Rosie O'Donnell or all this other stuff, he's making rude comments, he's insincere, he's rude to journalists, whatever you want to say about Donald Trump, he gets things done, which is more than I can say about any other Democratic president we've seen in a very long time. Now, you just saw what he just did, helping with a ceasefire with Israel and Hamas. How many conflicts has he just ended? You can talk about Pakistan and India. You can talk about Israel and Iran. You can talk about the Congo or Rwanda. You can talk about so many different conflicts that Donald Trump has helped end because he is the man of peace. And yet now, after becoming president, you still see people with this violent rhetoric talking about He's a Nazi. He's a communist. He's a dictator. He wants to take rights away from women, which he doesn't want to take rights away from anybody. I mean, so this is something that we're going to have to see. I don't think that New York is so corrupt right now. Mandani's going to win. It's you can't debate it. Mandani is going to win. He's going to ruin that state. Andrew Cuomo is, say what you want about the guy. He's a governor that had all that COVID stuff and the sexual harassment stuff. And that's why Mandani is a clear winner. So we're going to see how Mandani is going to do. He's going to ruin the state, but that's the reason why Letitia James has signed up to support Mandani, and she thinks that she's protected. And she's probably going to be protected in the state of New York because New York is a corrupt state. It has corrupt politicians, and that's why she threw her support behind Mandani when she knows that Mandani is going to be the clear winner of New York. So I'm just curious to see what's going on. But Letitia James, you deserve everything that comes to you. I hope the DOJ comes at you so hard for all the years that you tried to ruin Donald Trump and Eric Trump and Don Jr., and you came after the kids and you came after the family, you came after the businesses. I hope something happens where you lose everything and you can now feel the sting of karma. All right, guys. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here.